Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, which is all about the 20 by 16 competition. Now, our 20 by 16 print competition is Europe's premier and largest print competition, which is judged by over 40 international judges. It's judged once a year live at our convention. The judging is completely free to come and watch and get that educational experience from our judges. Now today I've got David with me. He's a part of that team. So David, why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction? Tell us how you became a part of the team and what it feels like to be a chairperson for the first time this year.
Yeah, hi Terry. Hello to everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from. Yeah, I'm going to answer that last question first about what it feels like to be a chair, because I do feel a bit like a child in a sweet shop. Actually, I'm really excited about it. I really am. But there is a lot of pressure that goes with that as well. I mean, when I think back to all the chairs that sat in the chair before, there's a really big pressure to get the job right. For me, I'm looking forward to making sure that every print gets the critique and the score that it deserves as well. So I'll be working with the judges to make sure that happens. Also, I want this to be entertaining, but also informative and inspirational for the people who are going to be watching the 16 by 20 competition. But from a personal point of view, I think what I'm looking forward to most is the next progression from being a judge, and that's actually seeing the judges' faces light up when they see that extra special image, when they see that image that they really want to score high, but also seeing the audience, when the audience get to see, you know, the 80s, the 90s, the hundreds that get scored. That really is going to be a special moment, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to. The first question, how did I get to be involved with the judging? Well, as you can see, I've been doing this for quite a long time. This is my 28th year in business. I've actually been a photographer for over 30 years. But it's a really good story actually how I got involved with this, and it does actually tie in with the 16 by 20 competition. Going back many years ago, I was at a seminar by Terrie and the evening before the seminar was to take place, I actually got a phone call from the person, Martin from Spicer Hallfield, who was organising the event, and said, "Listen, what are you doing at the moment?" I said, "Well, I'm just literally in the middle of having my dinner with Jane, my wife. There was just the two of us in this restaurant." And he said, "Do you mind if we join you?" So I said, "Yeah, no problem whatsoever." So I'm thinking to myself, "Geez, you know, I'm going to meet one of my biggest inspirations, you know, God as it was in my world." And Terrie and Martin came around, and we got chatting, and we had a really good night. And I was really honoured that Terrie turned around and said, "Listen, I've seen some of your work, and I've heard a little bit about you guys, and you know, and I'm, you know, you're really, you know, impressed, and you know, you're really doing well." And I actually turned around, and I will never forget these words. I actually turned around to him and said, "Yes, Terrie." Said, "We're one of the best kept secrets in photography." And Terrie turned around to me and he said, "Don't be a secret. Do not be a secret." And that got me really thinking. And then what I did is I entered a competition. It was a 16 by 20 competition. So I had one print, and I was really nervous when I entered this competition. And that first time feeling stayed with me through ever. And from that competition, which I did okay. I'm not going to say I won it. I did okay at it. I then decided to go in for qualifications. From qualifications, I then went to become a fellow. From a fellow, we then went to the training. We got into the judging side of it, which is just a totally different level of excitement and fun that's involved with photography, because you then feel as though you're giving something back to the industry. And then now the highest accolade is that I've been accepted by my peers. And now I'm going to be a chair of judges. And it came full circle from that conversation with Terrie, where at the last convention, which seems a lifetime ago, I actually got to judge with Terrie, and I got to share a stage with Terrie as we did a Q&A session together. So for anybody out there who always asks, how do we get to where we are? How do photographers get to be judges? It all starts with that first print in that first competition. I cannot emphasize that enough. And if anybody is literally on the fence about entering the 16 by 20 competition, I'm going to say this to you now. you go to the convention and you, for the first time, and you get to see the trade show, you get to see the speakers, you get to meet up with friends, and that's fantastic. That's really good, and I know everybody really gets a high buzz on that. But just imagine spicing that up a little bit with an entry or 2 or 3 or 4 entries into the 16 by 20 competition. Will we win? Am I going to do well? What's going to be the result? And all of a sudden, the excitement level then tends to take over. And I've always had this conversation where people turn and say, "Oh, am I good enough to enter?" Well, hey, I've seen some of the photography newbies come away with top awards, and I've seen some photography gods score 75 and above. So it's almost like the FA Cup. You know what I mean? It's the minnows take on the giants, and that's what makes it extra special. So I'm looking forward to that side of the competition, that feeling, that buzz that is created around that.
It's so funny, that you mentioned that Jerry Gonis was a big part of inspiring you, because in actual fact, he was a big part in inspiring me too, to create the 20 by 16 competition and to do things the way that we do things. Because, many, many years ago, I think before we even had kids, me and Colin took a trip to Vegas to WPPI. And I said to Colin, look, for 2 days, I just want to sit and I want to watch the print judging, and I want to, have a look at how they do things. And I rolled into Jerry. Jerry was chairing a room, and he was at the premier category, which is the equivalent to our nouveau category. And we ended up staying in the room for like 2 days, just watching Jerry and the way that he was sharing his team and managing his team. And it really inspired me to kind of set some standards and to encourage the judges that were coming up for us, becoming chairs, to do things in a similar way and to have that passion and that care. And to advocate for the prints in a way that Jerry did in his room all those years ago. So it's funny that he inspired you, because he inspired me too.
It is a funny thing. I remember going back onto the progression. I remember sitting in a room, and don't forget, listen, I'm just a guy from a working class town in the northwest of England. And I'm nobody special. And I did have a flashback. I was sat in my room in Las Vegas, overlooking the Strip, about to judge at WPPI, and I just remember a story that my father-in-law once said to Jane when we first met. And his friend turned around to Jane and said, "What's David want to be?" And he said, "Oh, he wants to be a photographer." And his friend. Yeah, I've frozen. Can you still see me?
Just about, David. I think it froze for everyone else before it did for me. Just repeat your last sentence or two.
So basically, I was saying my father-in-law's friend turned around to him and said, "Do you know something? You'll never make anything photography. It's not one of those industries you're going to make anything in." And I'm sat in my hotel room in Las Vegas about to judge the WPPI competition. Again, all that starts from entering that first competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's a small world.
We've had, members go from, only having been in membership a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and they enter those images and they get nominated for awards. And, we had one member this month, it was their first month entering the online, not the print. And they had 4 golds. They'd been a member for less than 2 weeks, and they were absolutely blown away with the fact that they'd been awarded 4 gold awards. So yeah, we've got loads of people in the comments saying they're entering for the first time and they're really nervous and they're really scared. So David, what advice would you give to somebody who's perhaps entering but are really nervous about the experience? What advice would you give them just to calm their nerves before judging day?
Sorry, just quickly repeat that again. You just froze a little bit on me again.
Okay. So people in the comments are saying how they're really nervous of what the judges are going to say about their entries. So I've got a little bit of a story to tell about that. But why don't you give your sort of point of view on that before I jump in?
Yeah, that to me, that's what the excitement and the real feel about the competition is that nervous anticipation of what the judges are going to say. Let's get one thing straight. From a personal point of view, one of the reasons that I entered the photography competitions is I wanted to be judged by my peers. This is not a case of being judged by somebody that was in the wedding industry or a wedding supplier. I wanted to be judged by people that I respected and people that I looked up to. So it was that's the reason why I went for the critique. Now, any comment that comes back is always going to be a positive comment. It's very simple as us photographers to get locked up in this. Yes, but my images get like 100 likes on Facebook, and they get 200 likes on this, that, and the other. Yeah, my mum absolutely loves my work. You know what I mean? So she's going to say it's amazing, but that is not going to make me progress forward. So I wanted to know from my peers as to the best way forward. And if my peers suddenly turned around and said, "Oh, fantastic, David, you've been superb. You don't need to get any, to do any changes," I wouldn't be sat here and I wouldn't be cheering the competition. So in other words, it is the comments that you need to take on board, and it's those little bits of things. Because now when I turn up on a wedding and I'm posing the bride and I'm posing the bride and groom or the groom, the things that I've learned over the years, the hand placement, the foot placement, the curve, the light, all that is suddenly boom. It's almost like muscle memory. But that's all what I've been given from judging competitions as well as being judged at competitions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you a quick anecdote, and it's one that David will have heard before because I say it quite often in a lot of judges' meetings that I host. I had an entry once in the print competition that the lowest score that we can give a print is 65. So we don't go below 65. And the image was entered into the print competition, and I was chairing at the time, and the scores came in, and the print scored 65. And there was a lot of issues within this print. But I looked at my team and I kind of gave them the nod, and they all nodded back to me. And I said, right, we're going to spend a bit of time on this print now, and we're going to get a comment from every single judge on the panel. Let's make sure that if the author is in the room, that they're going to get a really, really, good critique on this image. I mean, we critique every single image that comes through. So if you're in the audience, you'll get to hear a critique on your image. But anyway, the judges, they gave their insight and they had a chat about this image and they gave some really good advice. And then I knew the author was in the room because they stood up and they were listening to what the judge was saying. So then at lunchtime, this member was walking towards me, and I must admit my stomach kind of sank because I just thought, oh, I hope they're not too downhearted, because of the critiques. And they bounced up to me and I was like, oh, okay. But the bounce was with excitement because they said, I learned so much in that 10 minutes that you guys spent, giving me a critique on my image. He said, I'm so excited now to move forward and to create images based on the advice that you've given. He said, I may have got a 65. Yes, it may have, not been the best score, but the critique that was given was well worth entering. And we did actually have a comment, a question in via email, and it says, I don't think my images are good enough to win, but I'd still like to hear the feedback. Is it worth me entering just for that? And I think we've answered that question there. It is worth entering, even if you're unsure or not that confident about your image, maybe getting an award or winning the category. It is worth entering your images just for the feedback, basically.
I mean, I suppose it's a bit like when everybody entered the lottery for the first time. We all thought we were going to be millionaires on that first draw. You know what I mean? It is. It's just not everybody can win, but hey, it's just that excitement of being part of one of the greatest competitions in photography.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the main questions that I actually get asked, so the way that today's webinar is going to run is me and David are just going to sit, we're going to shoot the breeze, we're going to have a chat about our experiences in the print competition industry, and we're going to answer your questions as and when they come along. So I'm going to keep an eye in the comments. So if you've got any questions for us, we'll aim to answer those live. I do have some questions that were sent in by people who were not able to attend live but still wanted to ask some questions. So I've got those lined up. But the very, very first thing that I want to do is I just want to go through the process of actually submitting your images to the competition, because I get a lot of feedback saying that it can be quite intimidating to kind of go onto the website and book your images in. We implemented a new system 2 years just before the pandemic. We implemented a new system of how to kind of book in your images online. So I just really quickly want to run through that just so people have got it for reference. because this webinar will go up on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook and on our website, so that when people are coming to upload their entries, they can maybe click on this video and kind of have it to hand. So I'm just going to do a screen share with you, and then we'll go from there. So when you come to booking your entries, you come to the convention page on the website and then click on 20 by 16 print competition, and you scroll down. These links are really handy here, so it'll tell you who the judges are. It'll give you a link to the application form. This application form, you need one to go on the back of every single entry that you send us, and then the terms and conditions and the rules are there as well. So to enter in your images, you click on this link here. So it says book your prints in here, and it will bring you through to the main booking in system. So I'm going to enter in my email address, and because I already have an account, it'll ask me, are you Terrie Jones? So yes. If you haven't created an account already, it'll ask you to basically create an account. You have the options to add a password or not add a password, and it'll ask you to fill in your name and address. This will be the address that your prints will automatically be sent back to, so make sure that if it's your home address or your studio address, you're happy that your prints will go back there. And then it'll ask you if you are a member. So if you're a member, then you pop a tick in there. And then this is basically an information page. It'll tell you that you have to have an application form. It'll tell you that you're required to enter a digital version of your images, and it'll give you all the categories here. So it says, tick the box to show you've read the rules. I'm sure you're all going to do that. And then it'll take you through to a page where you upload your digital files for your entries. So say today, I'm going to enter commissioned portrait. It'll give a brief category definition. It'll say, do you want to enter commissioned portrait? The answer is yes. And then you click browse. I've got a sample file here ready to go. It'll upload the file. Perfect. And then you can give your file a title. So this is the title that will be read out by the print handlers on the judging day. And you scroll down, you can submit up to 20 images in each category. But if you want to enter more, because there is no limit on how many you can enter, then just contact me and we'll tell you how to enter more than 20. So then you click next. It'll show here. So just pop in all your entries and then you click next. It'll ask you if you want your prints to be destroyed or returned by post. For the return of prints, it's a £5 base price and then £1 additional per entry. So for 2 entries, it'd be £7. For 3 entries, it'd be £8. For 4 entries, it'd be £9, etc., etc. You click on next, and the fee for the entry is automatically calculated, and it gives the option to pay by PayPal. You open PayPal up, and then normally you'd pay. So, but I'm just going to close this down. And then here, if you click download, it will automatically download here my entry forms, and these go on the back of each image. So here it says the category is portrait, the subcategory is commissioned. It'll give my information. It'll say where my prints are due to be sent back to. And then you just need to sign it and print it off, sign it and stick it onto the back of your images. And then you click next, and then literally that's it. Your prints are, and that will come through to me. You can, oh, hang on, let me go back to my face. Hang on. How do I do this? There we go. So you can upload not your actual entries. So you can upload placeholders at this time. and then you can remove, edit, or re-upload your images up until the 27th of February. So even if you're not sure exactly which images you're entering, but you want to kind of get it all booked in and paid for so that it's kind of ready, then you can go on today, just upload some placeholder images, and then you can log back on next week or the week after and upload your final edits there. So that's kind of, the basic way of uploading it. But I do know that because it's new, it can be really, really overwhelming for some people to kind of use a new system. I know it is for me anyway. So I just wanted to kind of run through that. So David, you've uploaded your images already, haven't you?
Yes.
To the system? Yes.
just one thing to go back on that. I know a lot of us like to get really, really creative with our composition, things like that. Remember the arrows on the back of the form. That's the position that's pointing upwards. So that's telling the print handler how you want the judges to see the print. So in other words, if you've got some fancy, I don't know, I'm not going to make lashes or reflections or anything like that, make sure that the arrows are pointing in the direction that you want the judges to see your print. But yeah, I've already uploaded mine. I am more nervous than I've ever been before, shall we say? But this is the reason why we do what we do, is for this feeling, this nerves. Yeah, so it's either going to be between 65 and 100. So I can guarantee I'm going to be somewhere between them two scores. I know where I'd like to be.
Do you know what, David? Just while I was showing that process just then, we've had an avalanche of questions in from the audience. So should we just crack on straight on and answer some? Yeah. So we've got one person. Apologies, the system won't let me see your name, so I don't have who's asked this question. But I've got a person asking, I can never think of a title. How important is it to have one?
Well, it's a 50-50 that. I know judges that say they prefer to have their prints actually classed as untitled and let the judges make up their own decision of their own mood and feel as to where they are on that image. Yeah, I listen. There goes all of us beforehand. I really like to name put a name or a title on my print, just to help introduce the print. So in other words, if it's a wedding documentary photograph, shall we say, it's just helping me steer the judge's eyes where I want the judge's eyes to go. Yes, okay, we've got the impact, rule of thirds, composition, all that sort of thing, but I'm just want to try and give the best chance to that print I can. But yeah, we all go through that where we struggle to think of print titles. That's why a lot of my brides are just called Bride or Sarah or Julie.
The advice I would give regarding titles is it has to benefit the print. So if it's a bride walking down the aisle, do not name your image Bride Walking Down the Aisle, because the judges can see that. Give the judges some information that they may not be able to find just by looking at the print. Give it some context. If the title isn't giving the image context, then I wouldn't bother. So yeah, that's a very, very good question. I've got another question. It says, looking ahead to next year, how many images could I enter? So I'll answer that one. You can enter as many as you like, in as many different categories as you like. There's no cap at all on the number of entries. Yeah, that's simple to answer.
If I could give one little recommendation to that as well, is try different categories. Try spreading into. I mean, I'm a wedding photographer, but I'm entering into the portrait category. I'm entering into the landscape category this year because I want to try different genres. So help that, try different categories. Don't just stick to where you want to be pigeonholed.
Yeah, and one thing that I would say as well is if you've got a session that you have a number of entries from that you're really, really proud of, just pick a few, because there's nothing worse as a judge sitting in a category that say has 50 entries in it, and 8 of them being all of the same subject in the same situation. And the impact does lessen the more and more you see a subject, especially as I said, if they're in the same situation. So yeah, I would cherry pick your favorites from each session. And if you've got a number of sessions that you want to enter images from, then that's great. And try something new as well. So yeah, that's oh gosh, these questions are like flying in.
Impact is a big thing, and you're quite right. try and avoid putting in the same image, because literally it does lose the impact. And what you might find is the image that you feel the proudest of, that you feel has got the best chance, might come later on in the judging where the impact has been taken off it a little bit.
Yeah, very true. How many times do we see that as judges, where it's the same author and you're like, and then, you do think back to the images that have gone previously, even though you're not judging the image against that other image, you're still scoring each image individually. But yeah, that definitely happens, 100%. Okay, next question. Do you think it makes a noticeable difference if you have your images printed by a pro lab or self-print? This is a tough question.
So, well, Terrie probably knows a little bit of my answer to this particular question, because we were judging somewhere else last week. I suppose from my personal experience, it's always a little bit easier to put your trust into somebody that you know is going to do the job right. Again, it's all about giving your image, your print, the justice that it deserves. And if you feel that sending it through to a professional printer is the best way to go about it, then I would always recommend doing that. This year, I felt as though, for me, the excitement nerve levels were not quite high enough. So I've actually tried to print my own images this year.
And I heard all about that this weekend.
and believe me, if anybody recommends that, I would probably suggest send them to a printer, because there's a reason my hair is grey and I've grown a beard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, printing your own work is going to add to that level of nervousness when you're entering the competition. But do you know what? If you're confident in your printing ability and you want to look after your image from capture to print to sending it off to us, then I commend you for that. And I say go for it. If you are, I mean, obviously it's a print competition, so print quality is so important. And we do, we are disappointed when we see prints with great content, which are let down by either incorrect paper choice or printing issues that haven't been picked up on. So yeah, it's a bit of both. But I think if you are confident in your abilities, then there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't. Absolutely.
Whoever the person who answered that question, and to anybody else, come and see me on Friday morning at the convention, and I will answer that question as whether you should send them to a pro printer or print them yourself.
How many 65s did you score, David? Awesome. Okay, so Teddy has asked, what size should the images for submission be? So I'll answer that one. So the images must be 20 by 16 inclusive of the mount, and the image within that must have one side of at least 10 inches. So the minimum size that you could submit would be a 10 by 1. So you can go full frame if you want, or at a very, very minimum, it's 10 by 1. Now, all the images will be vetted by me when they arrive. If an image falls slightly short of that, then I will endeavour to contact the owner to see if we can get a reprint done before the competition. So don't worry if you've entered your image already and you know that it doesn't fall under those guidelines, pop me an email today and we'll get that sorted for you. And like I said, if you're working with a lab or preparing your prints this week, then yeah, 10 inches on the longest side. Yeah.
And just to add on to that question as well, don't forget the 10 inches, the longest side. It doesn't have to be a full frame. You can be quite creative with how you crop and frame your image, as long as it's a minimum of 10 inches on one side. So you could go for a letterbox crop.
You go for an oval or a circle.
Yeah. Be creative. It's all part of it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, it doesn't, like David said, it could be an oval or a circle or a triangle or a letterbox crop, and sometimes it's quite nice when you're judging to kind of get an image that is presented that little bit differently. Also, we get a lot of images on how best to mount your images, and I mean, really, that's individual to the image. They all have to be mounted, either flush mounted or window mounted, and the mount mustn't be more than 6 mil thick. So as long as you're within those dimensions, then you can pretty much do whatever you want. So we've got another question about size. Do we need to do the print at 20 by 16, or can the print be smaller? Okay, so that's what we've answered. So yeah, any way within that is absolutely fine. So we have another user who says, can you make a recording of your image being judged to keep the feedback for your records? So we had a chat about this weekend, didn't we, David?
Yep.
So do you want to answer this one?
Well, yeah. We don't mind people recording feedback so they can listen to it later. We obviously will be keeping an eye open for people who are deciding to do live streaming and things like that, because don't forget there are other people's images being judged, and they may not want the information to be out there. So yeah. So as long as you're doing it for yourself, that's fine. But bear in mind, myself and the other chairs and Terrie will be keeping an eye out for the live streaming.
Yeah, no live streaming at all. So I had a couple of people ask if they could live stream into different Facebook groups. That is not permitted. You're not allowed to live stream, and the chairpersons will be keeping an eye out for that. And to be honest, it is sometimes a little bit helpful if the chairperson sees you with your phone out for an image, then they know that that's your image, and they'll ensure that you get a good critique, because you're there and you've made the effort to come. Like I said, all the images will be critiqued in the competition this year. But if the chairperson knows you're in the room, then obviously they're going to ensure that you get the information that you came for. Just following on from that, someone's just said, why not allow voice recording only, as you know your images? So further explaining the reason why we don't do live streaming or any recording of any kind for the 20 by 16 is we want people to come and experience the judging in person. One thing that I experienced a couple of years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, I went to a judging session for a print competition that was in America. And in this print competition, they had over 5,000 entries, 5,000 prints to judge over a couple of days. And I went for something else. I didn't actually go to watch the judging, but I thought I'd stop in since I was there. And they had something like 10 judging rooms. They had 100 judges, and there was nobody watching it. There was no one in the audience. The rooms were empty. And do you know why they were empty? Because they were live streaming it. And as a judge, it makes a big difference if you don't have an audience behind you. Like David said, we like to make it entertaining. We like to interact with the audience, and the judges feed off that vibe in the room of the excitement. And when a print scores and the crowd erupts in a big cheer, and then room 1 tries to be louder than room 2, and it all just adds to the experience of the event. And if we live stream or if we recorded everybody's entries, people wouldn't come. And I know that from experience. You just wouldn't come. You'd wait for the stream to come out, or you'd wait for the recording to be released, and you'd sit at home and you'd watch back on there. So yeah, it's something that we're not going to reconsider. We're not in a position to be able to offer any type of recording. If you want to come, obviously, you'll get your score on the back of the print, and we do have a comprehensive guide as to what the scores mean. So you will be able to refer to that. So it won't be like as if you're lost in the dark, with what the judges thought about your image. But to get the critique, you need to be there, or either have someone there who's willing to record just your image for you as and when it comes up. David, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Again, it's all about that atmosphere, and I always said there's two types of people. There's two types of people who enter competitions. There are those who are entering because obviously they want to win and they want that PR and that side of it. And there's other people who are entering because they want to learn, they want to be inspired, they want to, they want to move forward. And to be fair, it's forget about it's not necessarily all about the critique in the room. It's all about the inspiration in the room. It's the
Yeah.
feeling. It's that atmosphere that's going
Yeah.
around. There are like-minded people in that room that you can chat to, and you get to. It is just the best. If you've never been to a live judging before, I promise you, you will go to this one and you're hooked.
Yeah.
You're hooked.
Yeah, and you learn so much off everyone's images, not just your own. You know, and like Scott's just wrote in the comments, you know, if you take time to enter, you really owe it to yourself to attend, not just for the feedback on your images, but all images. And do you know what? Absolutely, I agree, 100%. It's just, I mean, it's free and it's so educational. I love it when people come and they always tell me how much they appreciate what the judges said. And I know people who come 9 o'clock on the first day and they don't leave until we kick them out on the second day. And that, you know, reminds me a lot about the, you know, the way that I go and view print competitions. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice to know that you're helping people with the feedback that you're giving. So yeah, we've got loads of people in the comments now saying how much they love coming to watch the judging. So whoever asked that question, you know, I think we've all answered it for you. Come along and watch the judging.
You'll learn so much. You'll learn.
Yeah.
The only other thing you'll learn so much on it is my masterclass, but that's another story. But
yeah, and my superclass and my masterclass as well. Yeah, I'm doing a masterclass on what the judges are looking for. So if anybody wants to know a little bit more about how the judges assess images, I'm doing a masterclass, and I'm also doing a superclass, which is an introduction to judging. So yeah. And David, what are you doing?
I'm doing Shoot Weddings Like a Boss.
Amazing.
Which basically is from meeting your clients to presentation of the product.
Amazing. Shirley has asked, do they ask if the photographer's in the room? No, we don't ask if the photographer's in the room. However, if you are in the room and you go like this to the chairperson, then they will know that you're in the room. I mean, to be honest, as we are critiquing each and every image that comes up anyway, then it won't make too much of a difference because we are critiquing them all. But in other print competitions where we haven't critiqued every other image, it is really useful to know if the author's there to make sure that obviously we get the comments. Yeah, so many people writing that they love coming to watch the judging.
Just to answer an earlier question or something that people were worried about. The critique, the judging, the comments are all constructive.
Yeah.
Everything is meant to improve you as a photographer and take you to the next level. There is no such thing as oh, this is just, you know, there's none of that. It's all about judges like myself.
Oh, David's internet doesn't like him talking. We lost you again, David.
Yeah, I was just saying the judge. All the judges want to do is to help you get to the next level. So all the comments are very constructive. Don't be worried. There is nobody going to turn around and say, "Oh, your print's rubbish." There is none of that.
Yeah.
Not on my watch, and it's never been on anybody else's watch as well. It is all about helping you improve.
Yeah, absolutely. The judges all call me names behind my back because I'm very strict on the way that they conduct themselves and the way that they construct their comments when they are critiquing your images. You know, we have a 2-year intensive judges training program for this reason. You know, we don't let people sit on panels until they have gained their fellowship and been through the judging school. You know, we're the only association to have a judging school and to give official judges training. And this is the exact reason why, because at the end of the day, we treat your prints like as if, you know, they were ours. And we give them the utmost respect from the minute they arrive with us at HQ to the minute they are posted back to you. I advocate for your print 100%, and I honestly treat them as if they are my own, you know, as if they're my babies. So yeah, we're really, really respectful, and it's not, you know, it's not like as if we're going to have you in tears with what's said, not at all. So yeah, we give a lot of thought into the process. So don't be concerned, and also you don't have to let us know that the print's yours. You know, you can come and sit in the back, and no one could know that any of the entries are yours. You know, you just come in and enjoy the process and be anonymous in that way. You know, you don't have to let us know that you're in the room. So yeah, there is that. Okay, so we've got a few more questions. Lots of questions, goodness me. Jessica says, can you enter an image that's been entered into the monthly competition? So the answer to that is yes, as long as it's not in the same year. So you can't enter either competition, vice versa, with images in the same year. So if you want to enter images from last year or the year before or the year before that, as long as it falls within the 36-month time frame permitted, that's absolutely fine. But if you enter into the 20 by 16 next month, you then can't enter the same image for the rest of this year because it's the same year. Or if you had a gold award image last month, you can't enter it into the 20 by 16 because it's the same year. I know it's a bit confusing. It's even more confusing now that the event is in March instead of January. But yeah, just not in the same year. That's absolutely fine. Okay. We have someone asking, what are the boxes called to package your prints in for posting? So what do you use to send your prints, David?
I was gonna do a joke, which I know you would have gone mad at. I actually have a rather solid box that I'm going to be sending my prints through into. I was in two minds whether to hand deliver them, but I've got a delivery firm that's going to send them over to them. But they're all going to be wrapped up really, really securely and sent through really well. I know some judges, some people who enter the competition like to put just loads of tape on the boxes so it looks like it's a professional box. But I'm not quite sure what the actual name of the black boxes that people send the qualifications in. But for the prints, mine is a box that my actual prints came back from the last printer that I had using them, and it's a really substantial box and it can take a real kicking. So I know the prints are going to be safe inside there.
Yeah,
you do want them bent.
No, not at all, not at all. We get people using all sorts of different boxes to send their images in, and there's not a specific one that we only accept and don't accept others. So any print box will do, whether that's cardboard or whether you're going to use something like a Nomad case or a flight case. If you do send your images in a flight case, the prints are usually shipped back in the boxes that they come in, unless it's impossible for us to do that. So say, for instance, your box comes and you've taped it up with duct tape and I have to kind of destroy it to get your prints out, then obviously it won't be sent back in the same box. But as far as you can send flight cases, I'll look after them here and I'll ship them back in your flight cases. That's not a problem. If you want to send them in a cardboard box, that's absolutely fine. If you want to put them in bubble wrap and brown paper, I wouldn't suggest it. But, we have received entries that way. Do not send your entries in a tube because your images are supposed to be mounted. We always get one entrant every year that forgets that they're supposed to mount their images. So whenever we get a tube through to the office, I do a little sigh and I know that I have to ring the member to say, you're supposed to mount your entries. But the cases that we use to transport your images to the convention, because obviously everyone sends them in to me, I unbox them, I do all the admin, I repack them with white gloves and I treat them like they're my babies, and then I pack them into some Nomad flight cases. I got mine personalized in different colors, and mine are also polyurethane. They're not cardboard, so they're a little bit more substantial. They cost me, I think, about 50 quid a case. But I mean, unless you're entering competitions all the time and sending them overseas, that's probably a little bit OTT. Just a simple, packaging from a lab will do. And if you are having your, Lee's just commented, told me off for using too much tape. Yes, I did, because it took me half an hour to get into your box. And there are some people who send their images in the same boxes every single year because they believe that it is good luck. And one of those people is Scott Johnson. I know that he's watching. He has sent the same box for 10 years. And now it's more tape than it is cardboard at this point. Yeah, and your images will get sent back in the same packaging. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. I apologise for keep looking off the camera. I'm just bringing up the questions. So it says, just out of interest, Terrie, will the convention continue to run in March or will it go back to January? It's going to stick in March. Yeah, it's going to stick in March for the foreseeable future. David, how do you feel about it moving to March from a judging delegate point of view?
I think it just drops in at the right time. January, we just got over Christmas. We still have the backlog as a working photographer. We still have the backlog from the Christmas, the weddings, that sort of thing. So January, as much as it was great, was always a little bit of a struggle. From my point of view, from when we were doing the super classes, they were always really cool to go outside and take people outside for the super classes. So I just think March drops really well. Christmas is out of the way. It's giving certainly the wedding photographers time to get new stuff, try new techniques, ready for the start of the new season. And if you're doing super classes outside, it's a lot more, it's just more comfortable to go outside. And I just think it drops in at the right time of the year. So yeah, I think March is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from an organizational point of view, the last, we had Christmas this year as a family and we took a week off, which we've never, ever been able to do before, because the convention's already been in January and I haven't been sat on Boxing Day dealing with people who are upset because their labs haven't sent their prints because they've been overwhelmed with Christmas orders, panicking. Usually I unbox prints between Christmas and New Year. And it's always such a big rush. And, the companies that exhibit at the trade show, they usually close for 2 weeks over Christmas. And then when they get back, they're rushing to do things as well. So just from an organizational point of view, I think that we are much better prepared than we ever have been for the convention. And we feel that that's only going to improve our customer service in and around the convention time, to not be sort of rushing straight after Christmas. And hopefully people's financial situations and things like that, will not be as affected by the holiday season as what they usually are. So, yeah, I do think it kind of fits in well for everybody.
Gives you a liver chance to relax as well after Christmas before the convention.
Yeah, that dry January no longer affects the convention. Someone's asked, do I still have time to enter? Yes, you still have time to enter.
You've got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, you got to be in it to win it. Absolutely. So the deadline for prints arriving to the office is the 1st of March. I spoke to a couple of the labs today, and they said that their deadline to receive your prints, your digital submissions, is the 18th, which is next Friday. So you've got 7 days to, if you're going to use one of the labs that are listed on our website, you've got 7 days to get your images over to them, and then they can print them and they can send them direct to us. There was another question actually that said, my lab has offered to send my images to you direct. Is that okay? The answer to that is yes, it is absolutely okay. All of the labs that we work with have, looked after our entries for years and years and years and years and years. They know exactly what I need them to do. They know exactly when they're supposed to be here. If there's any sort of delay, I shout at them instead of you. So it works out for everybody.
just to throw a spanner in the works, though, from me, I'd just like to check that they're all right.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I am
absolutely.
A control freak, if you know what I mean. But yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple of people who are entering for qualification this year, like fellowship qualification. They said, oh, I'm going to get the lab to send it direct. And I said, well, I won't accept it because I want you to look over your entry before you send it, to me. Obviously, it's a fellowship qualification. It's a set of 20 images and every single one of them has to be printed, to an outstanding level. And if just a couple of those images have any printing errors in them at all, so yeah, I agree. Personally, I would put in your images to the lab either today or tomorrow, or over the weekend, and that would give you enough time for them to send them to you and then for you to forward them to me. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. More questions. We got more questions than time, I think.
Brilliant.
Do the judges always agree with each other? That's
yes.
a good one. 100%, David. Yeah.
Do you know something? Half the fun of watching the live judging is when there is a challenge, and when the judges really get into, I'm not going to say heated debate, because when the passion of the judges come out for a print, that really is when it really does become a spectator sport. Again, it's always respectful, it's always informative, but it is really, really good to see. And to me, it's one of the high points of judging is when there's a challenge, or when they're not quite on the same stage, and then the judge then has to say why they feel it is good, and why the judges then fight for your image, and it's almost like a spectator sport. Yeah, it's the highlight of the judging.
Yeah, absolutely. So, David, why don't you tell everyone which categories you're chairing?
So I'm in the, you caught me now. I'm doing the wedding categories. So that's wedding day, bride and groom. Go on, you read. You got the category.
You have no idea.
I'm doing, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're also
doing what Terrie tells me to do.
You're doing monochrome as well. You're doing monochrome. You're doing all the wedding categories. Yeah, and the team that you've got, it's funny because in our private judges group, every year I kind of make this little bit of a big deal about announcing who's on which team, and things. So then I announce it live in that group. And all the judges just go crazy, and they're always like really happy, and they're like, we're the best team. No, we're the best team. And there's like a little bit of camaraderie that goes on, and it's wonderful. So how do you feel about your team this year, David?
I am absolutely ecstatic. Obviously, our room is going to be the best room. Goes without saying. But no, can we mention the judges that's in my room?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know them off the top of your head?
Yeah, I know the one that I'm really looking forward to is Luke Edmondson, who is going to be in my room. And the reason that I'm looking forward to Luke being in my room is that Luke was my chairperson when I judged at WPPI. So I'm really honoured to swap roles with Luke, because Luke was really, if I can be half as good as chair as what Luke was, then I was really, really happy. But yeah, all the judges it's just a who's who of the photography judging world. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really good this year that we've got a couple of new chairs on the panel. So obviously you're one of them. So how did you feel then when you realized that you were going to be chairing a room? Is it a lot more pressure than usual?
Yeah, it is, but it's a good pressure. Like I said before, I want people to go on the journey that I've been on. I mean, photography has been so good to me. I mean, like I keep going on this. I'm a lad from a working class town in the north of England, and the countries that I've visited, the things that I've managed to do because of photography and because of what I've learned through photography, and I really want people to pass that on. So I really want people to pass that on, and I want to be able to make sure that everybody's print gets the respect, gets the score that it deserves, but also make it entertaining. And I'm really looking forward to the pressure of watching everybody's faces. Certainly during the challenges, I'm really looking forward to some good challenges, being a little bit of a referee between the two. And just hopefully everybody enjoys being in my room and being at the judging as much as what I'm going to.
Being in the best room, David.
The best room. So, and Mrs. Sanjay and the other chairs will not agree to that one day.
So just give us a bit of an idea of some of the qualities that you're looking for in a good judge. What are you hoping that the qualities are that your judges will exhibit on the judging days throughout the judging?
I'm looking for several things. First of all, I'm looking for respect to the print. That's really the first thing that I'm going to be looking for. They need to be mindful that, hey, we've all been in that situation before. We've all entered competitions for the first time, and we've all entered competitions for the 100th time. So I'm looking for that respect from the judge. I'm really looking for inspiration. That's the one thing that I want the judges in my room to come out with, is inspiration to just recharge the batteries of the photographers who's going to be in the room and the photographers who's going to be at the convention. This is an incredibly lonely business. It's been an incredibly tough couple of years with the pandemic. We are really eager to get back to meeting each other and get back to being together again. And that is another thing that I want my judges to come. This needs to literally just we need to get 2 years worth of inspiration out in this judging session. And that's another thing that I'm looking forward to. And I'm also looking to be inspired myself, because again, this is where us judges and chair, every time we judge, we learn ourselves. We see new ideas.
Oh, yeah.
And I, as you can see, I do look like a Premiership footballer. I have the fitness levels of a Premiership footballer. I am never going to score a goal in an FA Cup final. But just think if you can get a 100 at a print competition. Well, us judges want to score a 100 as well. That's our holy grail. We are looking for that 100, that perfect image, that perfect print. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully being on the chair when we see one of them. And let's hope we do see a few of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no reason why not, eh? No reason at all. Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of what David says about sitting on a panel. You know, I sat on a panel this weekend, which David just so happened to be chairing. Gosh, I was nervous. So nervous to be sitting on a live judging situation after 2 years of being off. And you're right, you do want to be inspired, and you do want to give those scores, and you want to do the prints justice at the end of the day, and that's what being a judge is all about, to be honest.
Sorry, but one thing I always feel and say to people is, people look at what we say and what we score for the next 12 months. So really, the future of the direction of our industry hangs on what the judges and the judging room says. So we have to be mindful of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. While we've been chatting, we've had a few more questions in. It says, I'd like to watch my images being judged. Is there a schedule for the judging days? That is a very, very good question. Not necessarily a schedule, because the 20x16 is such a fluid beast that you never know quite how long categories are going to take to judge. But we will give an order. So for each room, we'll give an order as to which categories, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, so that you'll get a rough idea of sort of, as and when the judging will take place on the first and second day. But I can't give specific timings, just because you don't want to be restricted by time. So you don't want to say, right, well, we've got to finish this category within the next 20 minutes, so we best hustle and crack on. We're not about that at all. The judging will take as long as it takes, but yeah, we will give you some sort of rota as to kind of, but actually the qualifications will have a structured schedule. You will be able to see which level, which genre, and which time it's being judged for the 2 days. So we'll have that posted so that you'll be able to tell, right, at 11 o'clock on the Wednesday, we've got a fellowship panel in the genre of commercial, and that will not change. So that will be quite structured. So we'll have a schedule for that, and that will come out closer to the event. Are the images going to be on the projector like they were last time, David?
Yes.
Yeah,
short
quite
answer.
simply. Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole reason why we need you to upload digital files, so that we can have them projected, so that even if you're sat at the back of the room, you'll be able to see the print, the digital image of the print that the judges are scoring. What's it like, David, sitting on a panel and having a digital image off to the side? How do you deal with that as a judge? Always frozen. Are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Yes. Yes, they'll be on the projector. But again, the projector doesn't give the print quality. It doesn't show the real print quality of it. So as much as, you'll be able to see the image, really, we'd love when the prints hang for you to go to the gallery and just see the print quality as well. So that's another must for you to do, is actually have a look at the gallery afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. So the judges don't judge it off the digital entry. The digital entry is just there for the audience. We have it off to the side so that it's not too distracting for the judges, because after all, they shouldn't really be looking at it. Sometimes you'll catch them after they've scored the print, because right at the bottom of the screen, the judges' scores actually come up. If you're sat nearer the front, you'll be able to see that. It won't say which judge scored which score, but it will give all 5 scores at the bottom of the digital projection. So sometimes the judges like to just have a quick look at there, especially when they're deciding if they're going to challenge a print. If they've scored a print particularly high, but the average is quite low. They might take a quick look up just to see if there's anybody else who's up there with them, or whether they're sort of out on the limb on their own. So yeah, you might see them just having a quick glance, but they're not judging off it at all. There's a discussion going on in the comments right now about sending in sweets with your print entries. There are a couple of people each year who are amazing, who pop sweets and things in their print box when they send it through to the office, so that when I unbox them, there's like little sweets and stuff. Do not feel pressured to do that at all. Usually that's just people who've kind of, you know, done it for years and years and find it a bit of a joke. Certainly don't be putting anything in with your prints that is liquid or can melt or anything like that. I do not, you know, potentially have something in there that will destroy your prints. I'd rather people just not put anything in.
I must admit, at the recent judging, I've never seen judges come so alive when bars of chocolate and sweets were brought out. So yeah.
David, I have been ordering off Amazon this week, and I've got our stock for the convention ready to roll. We've got Starburst, we've got M&Ms, we've got stuff to keep you going. Don't you worry. But yeah, sometimes, obviously, you know, judging it's a long process, and we expect a lot out of our judges. They're there for 9-10 hours some days. So we like to give them a bit of chocolate and a bit of sugar. If you're coming to watch the judging live and you want to bring the judges some sweets, I'm sure they would absolutely love you. Doesn't mean to say that they'll score your prints any different, but they'll certainly be in a happier mood while they're judging anyway.
One thing I would point out as well is don't forget, when you're actually watching the judging, there are other people watching the judging as well. So in other words, if you're going to bring sweets, make them quiet sweets.
Yeah, absolutely. Terry Donnelly's asking what light settings for the print viewing. Because I'm not in the office right now, I don't have that information right now. We use the daylight viewing booths, and the information, I do have the information, just not with me. I will make sure that that's posted in the comments. I'm now not back in the office till Monday, but on Monday I will post in the comments.
It is the industry standard that we It
is the industry standard. I just can't quite remember and I don't want to give any wrong information in case people take that. And the labs will know, though. If you're getting your images printed at labs, they will know because they have the information. So don't let it delay you sending prints off to labs and stuff. If that's what you want to do this weekend, then feel free to do that. Okay, David, there's a question for you. And I think we're gonna start wrapping this up fairly soon. So if anybody's still watching and they've got any last minute questions, feel free to pop them in the comments while David is answering this question. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. So if you can answer this question, as David is a wedding photographer and is also judging the monochrome category, would an image of a wedding rather than, say, landscape stand a better chance in the competition?
Right, so I think this is a really, really good question. I'm presuming that Terrie has sent this question because I'm a wedding photographer. So again, I'm going to answer this question with another story. One of the first times I went to WPPI in Las Vegas, I was actually in the filmmaking room. So actually, we were judging. Well, I wasn't judging. I was one of the proctors, the person who helps the scoring out, judging the filmmaking category. And I thought to myself, well, I know absolutely nothing about filmmaking, but don't forget, all the judges are trained with the 10 elements of judging and what to look for. And literally, I was in 1 or 2 points of the judges who were scoring in the filmmaking category. So just because I'm a wedding photographer doesn't mean that I'm going to favor a wedding image over any other sort of image. In fact, I may even be a little bit more critical. But one thing that I do as a wedding photographer, and this is one of the good things about the wedding room, is that wedding photographers do have that empathy and that understanding of the struggle to get the documentary photographs. But it's not necessarily a case of their wedding picture is going to be over, get scored higher than what a landscape photograph is. I'm actually a little bit of a landscape geek as well. I love landscape photography and I love black and white landscapes. I really do like that sort of genre. So yeah, we're skilled in all sorts of judging. It's all about the image. It's all about the image quality and the print quality as well. So everything is on a level playing field. Good question though.
Yeah, so just because the monochrome category is being judged in the same room as the wedding category, it's not done as a wedding category. It is just a monochrome category. So it is an open category that any subject can be entered into. And like David said, one subject will be preferred over the other. The only thing that the judges will be looking at is, does the monochrome conversion benefit that print? And that's the main thing that they're looking for, really.
What I've been having this debate over images. Do they work in color? Do they work in black and white? The image will stand for itself. Don't just make an image black and white just because you want to enter the monochrome category. Do the image justice. But yeah, it's they'll work.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, well, I think the questions have slowed down now, so I think we've kind of done our best to answer all the questions that have come in. We've had an amazing number of people online. I've been watching the chat as we've been answering questions, and again, there's been a camaraderie within the comments of encouraging people to enter, and people saying how much they love watching the judging. And we've been through kind of a few technical things of how to enter and things like that. David, just to kind of close out, is there anything that you yourself do kind of every time you enter a print competition, or something that you don't do every time you enter a print competition? Is there any final advice that you would give to people who are thinking about entering? Mine would be just enter. And if you're getting your images printed with a lab, ring the lab and speak to the lab and see what advice they can offer as well. Because all the labs that are on our website, we've been working with for years and years and years, and they know, because when an image wins or scores really highly, then if they've been printed by a lab, then that's the lab's achievement as well at the end of the day, and they learn over the years, which papers suit your image and things like that. So I would talk to them as well before entering. So what's your final advice?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think you know what your image will look its best. One thing I always suggest is look at the 16 by 20. Yes, it is a print competition, but don't forget we're judging the 16 by 20. So in other words, if your mount's falling off, you're going to end up being scored low. So make sure that you inspect all of the 16 by 20, because the judges will inspect all of the 16 by 20. Again, make sure that the paper is right for the image. Again, we see quite a few things where the paper is not right for the image. And most importantly, or second most importantly, is read the rules. Read the rules and the category definitions, that sort of thing, because there's nothing more frustrating than going through all this work and then sticking it in the wrong category or the wrong size. And most importantly, more than anything, just enjoy the experience. It is enjoy the experience. I cannot recommend the live print judging enough. From my personal point of view, if I wasn't chairing it or judging it, I would be there because I just need the cut and thrust of that. It is where photography really comes to life. Yes, you're going to learn a lot, but it's where photography really does come to life.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Just one final thing before we sign off then. We are still open for entries. You still have time. If anybody still has any questions or queries that they've not had a chance to ask, if anybody is watching this on catch up, please feel free to email me. My email address is Terrie, Terrie, at thesocieties.net. I'm also available usually on Facebook Messenger with any questions that you have about entering. The cutoff dates for prints to arrive into the office is not until the 1st of March. So you've got buckets of time to enter, absolutely buckets of time. And we've already seen submissions into the print competition this year. We're up to the same number of images as what we have been in previous years already. So it's going to be a real bumper competition. And we've got images coming in from America, Australia, France, China, the UK. We've got images coming from everywhere, all across the world. So if you want to be in with a chance of winning categories and put your images up against some of the world's best photographers, and don't forget, if you're a first-time entrant, there is the Nouveau category. That's something we've not covered in this webinar. The Nouveau category is purely for first-time entrants. So if you're a little bit scared about playing with the big boys, then pop your images into Nouveau. Nouveau is an open category, so you can put any genre of image in there. The The only constraint is it has to be your first time entering the print competition in order to put your images in there. So yeah, what I would say for anyone watching on Catch Up, if you've got questions that we haven't covered, then feel free to contact us. And yeah, we look forward to seeing your entries and judging them in March. So the judging dates are the 16th and 17th of March. It's taking place at the Novotel Hotel, Hammersmith West in London next month. And our judging team, we'll be there for 2 days looking at your images. It's free to attend. So if you want to come along, why wouldn't you?
Again, I've got to reiterate. I've seen new photographers enter for the first time score really highly, and I've seen photographic gods score really lowly. So in other words, it's open to everybody. Don't be afraid of entering the competition. You have nothing to lose, and
you're only entering against yourself at the end of the day.
Exactly.
You know, and the score and the critique that you'll get will be worth entering. We said this right at the beginning. It'll be worth entering. You know, and you never know. You know, you might end up in finals, and you might end up sat there at our awards night wondering if you've won an award. So feel free to come along and join us at the event. Thank you so much, David, for taking time.
Anytime.
To come and just have a chat and let people know a little bit more about what goes into the event and about how passionate we are really about print and seeing people's entries come in. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
And can I say thank you to Terrie for making this one of the most respected photographic competitions in the world. Now, I know she won't say that, but it is. The respect that people have around the world in all the different photographic organizations for this photographic competition is up there with the best. So well done to Terrie for giving this competition the reputation that it deserves.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is. This isn't just a job for me. It's a vocation in life to to provide the training and to provide the opportunity for people to put themselves out there and to achieve what they can achieve. Everything that I do, from the mentoring program to the qualifications and the online competitions to the print competitions to the one-to-one mentoring that I do, it's all for the benefit of the industry. It's something that I absolutely love, and I'm just really blessed to have a team that kind of has the same thoughts and feelings as me about the whole thing. And I wouldn't be where I was today without the team. But yeah, enough gushing over each other. I'm looking forward to seeing you all in March. If you see me at the event, please come, please give me a hug. Please bring some coffee. And yeah, look forward to seeing everyone there. So I guess for us, it's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. I will see you in London.
You. Bye.
And I've just bought it specifically because it's got
£1,000 in April when we've just gone into lockdown. It's doable. And then at the very end, have a call to action or ask for some opinion.
Because I want the like to come just across that, just lighten that face.
Maybe if you recommended the approved insurance providers, most of the stuff help all the information. Give you a better insight about what's going on.